Okay, turn off. Off.
Yeah.
Off.
Oh.
Wait. Okay.
Hey everyone, it's Frank and Sarah here. Today we're interviewing Alice Ford. She's a YouTuber, traveler, and a stunt woman. Thank you for coming and spending time with us and talking to us about your travels.
So excited to be here, and I love wine, and I love traveling, so I can't wait to see, have some more wine.
Yes. So Alice is based out here in LA. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and such?
Absolutely. So yes, I live here in Los Angeles, and I work most of the year as a stunt woman, which is really fun and exciting. And then the rest of the year I spend working on my blog and my website, and obviously making YouTube videos as much as I can, which usually is about once a week. You know, I love traveling, and that's my real passion in life, but stunts pays my bills. So I kind of have a mixture of both of those, and I'm actually working on a movie right now. We've got about 5 weeks left of principal photography, and that's going to take us through about Thanksgiving.
Oh,
and
great.
then I'll be hopefully hitting the road and going on some more adventures, and making some new videos.
Very cool.
So what what got you into traveling? When did you start?
Well, I've really been traveling my whole life. My parents were like super adventure junkies. My dad was kind of like a jack of all trades. He was a mountaineer. He, before he met my mom and had my sister and I, he was a whitewater like river guide in the Grand Canyon. He a ski patrolman, a carpenter, and he lived in Ibiza, Spain with his friend for a long time in the 60s, and was just like this huge like travel and adventure enthusiast, and that definitely like got passed down to me for sure. And when I was a child, we spent lots of time like going to Mexico and national parks, and like one of my first memories is like being in Chichen Itza, in the Yucatan, and exploring, driving through Yellowstone, and just like being in all these great places of like national nature and really cool like cultural stuff. And so, as soon as I had the opportunity, I was off traveling myself.
Very awesome. So are you originally from Los Angeles or?
No, I actually grew up in New Hampshire.
Oh.
So most people are like, oh, I've heard of that state. Yeah. But not a lot of people have been there.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a very beautiful place to grow up, and I love the upbringing that I had because I got to be like just like out in the forest all the time. And so I think that a lot of people see kind of that in my YouTube videos, because I'm kind of always out exploring like a national park or like out in the wilderness as much as I can. And that's where I like to travel to too, is like places where I can go and see kind of like other places where there's big beautiful landscapes.
Okay. So what brought you to Los Angeles? I mean, was it your career or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my career definitely brought me to LA. I worked in kind of all different jobs over the last like decade, I guess. I'm only 18, but I'm just kidding. But I actually went to college in Arizona, and then I lived in the Bahamas for a little while, and in Georgia and New Orleans, and finally here in LA is where I live now, just because that's where most of my work is based out of, with the film industry. Obviously, it's much easier to be here for opportunities as far as that goes.
So first, for being a stunt woman, probably LA is like one of your only choices, right? It's like the best choice for your career. But if that didn't hold you down, like where else would you live?
Honestly, I'd probably be like a nomad. I think I would be traveling and a lot more on the road, and I don't know that I would per se have like one specific home. I love being in the Bahamas when I worked there, so that's kind of always on my list as like a spot. But I don't know, I think that would be a really hard decision for me to just kind of like, if I had to choose one place to live, if it wasn't here.
So when you're traveling, and it happens to me sometimes when you're traveling, and when you get to a place, you're like, I can stay here for a while, I like this place, and you get to the next place,
Absolutely.
like, I can stay here a while too.
Yeah. I think at least for me, like I find joy and like love for a place like so easily. Mm-hmm. When you just like immerse yourself in wherever you are, it's so easy to just like find things that you love about a place. And I think that happens to me so often.
No, when when that happens, is it because of the culture, the people, or just like the location itself?
I think a lot of the times it definitely has to do with the people, but obviously location too. You know, last year I spent 11 days kind of like trekking and kind of like backpacking through Portugal, and it was like a solo trip. And so the people that you meet, the people that I met were just so wonderful, like in every different little town that I went to. And I'm like a really big fan of like coffee shops and wine shops and wine tasting places. And I think, you know, whenever I find like a cute little bistro or a coffee shop and it's like overlooking, it's like a magnificent place, I just like fall in love every time. Maybe I fall in love too easily, I don't know, with the place.
So when you travel, do you normally travel by yourself then, or do you travel with friends, family?
Yeah, I travel alone a lot. My boyfriend comes with me the other half of the time, I would say. I think more recently I've been traveling more solo, just so that I could actually travel more. But the great thing about doing stunts is that we get to travel to all these really cool places. And then whenever we have a day off or a weekend off, I'm always like out adventuring, you know, finding cool things to do, places to see, and things like that. So it gives me an opportunity to be able to do a lot more traveling than most people would be able to.
What's your favorite location that you've gone to for work?
Oh gosh, it's a hard one. Well, we went to, I don't know that this is my favorite, but it was definitely one of the most beautiful. We went to Wulong in China. It's like maybe like 9 hours from a city, and like we had to take a bus, but just the landscape there was unlike anything I've ever seen. Like these like huge rock formations and like deep valleys of just green everything. There was an elevator that went from this like valley, this road, like down like 100 stories, and then you had to hike down like all these stairs, and you were just like in this place that looked like Jurassic Park. It was incredible, like super crazy. I haven't made a video about that. I probably should. But that was probably one of the coolest places.
And where is that? What's the nearest big city to that?
Ooh, I want to say it's what's the biggest city? Shangzhou, I think. Nothing I don't think anyone ever goes to.
Okay, what did you fly into?
But it's
to get there.
We flew into. That's where we flew into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then we took like a 9-hour bus ride.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
well, that sounds
really
fun. Sounds fun.
But we flew from Hong Kong there. It's in like southwestern China.
Okay.
Oh, southwestern. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was very, very interesting. And then I think for the United States, like one of my favorite places to work is Chicago in the summer.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did Transformers 4 there a couple years ago, and we got to stay like right downtown on Michigan Avenue, and it was just incredible. Like, I love that city. I've never been there in the winter, but in the summertime, it's like there's so many good restaurants, so many good places to get wine and food, and like so many things to do. It was just awesome.
Oh, it's cool.
We used to live there for a little bit. We weren't not together. We actually lived there at the same time period, but we didn't know each other's coincidence.
That's cool.
So we've been there through winters. It's not that cool.
Yeah.
Not that cool.
Yeah, you don't want to be there in the winter.
Yeah, but city is cool though. It's really nice. Yeah. So.
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Can I ask? So I want to ask more questions about your stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. So, so how did you get into being a stuntwoman?
So I got into stunts kind of in like a roundabout way, but I had worked in the hospitality industry for a while, and before that in sales, and I guess during and before college, I really wanted to get into TV hosting, but I lived in Arizona at the time. There's not like a huge market for that there. So I had done what I could, like experience-wise, and then, you know, spent some years kind of living and being in different places. Finally made my way to New Orleans and started working as like an extra and like getting back into the movie industry. And, you know, trying to get acting roles and stuff like that. I met some people that did stunts, and they knew I was like an athlete, had an athletic background. I'm like, oh, you should totally get into that. And it's like, yeah, okay, it's not that easy. And randomly, so at this time I was actually competing in pole vaulting. I did track and gymnastics in college, and I got invited by USA Track and Field, which is like the governing body of like having meets for that. to be part of this art exhibit in Venice, Italy. And it's called La Biennale. I don't know if any of you guys watching have been there, but it's the world's largest modern art exhibit. And most of the countries around the world have an exhibit at it. The United States that year was doing kind of this like homage to freedom. And so they're gonna have an overturned army tank with a treadmill on top. And they wanted a person running on the treadmill. So they contacted USA Track and Field and were like, send us some of your best runners and like competitors so that we can put them on this thing. And then they also had a second part of the exhibit was like some gymnasts performing on airplane seats. Which I don't know what that one meant, but and then there was also the Statue of Liberty in a tanning bed.
Oh wow, okay.
Anyways, so I go to Italy, and one of the gymnasts that is performing was actually also a part-time stuntman, and he was on this TV show called Make It or Break It, which was all about gymnastics. It's like was ABC Family, and we became friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, I used to do gymnastics. I want to get into stunts. I would love if you have any connections. So, anyways, he actually ended up like introducing me to some people that got me on that show, and I started working on that show, doubling one of the girls on there. And then so that was like my first real stunt job.
So of all the actors you've worked with so far, who's your favorite?
Actually, one of my favorite is this girl, Nicola Peltz. I got to double her on Transformers 4, and for those of you that don't know who that is, she played Mark Wahlberg's daughter in that movie. She was also on Bates Motel, but she was about 19 at the time, and honestly one of the most down-to-earth, like super nice people I've ever met. Like I got injured on that show, and she sent me flowers, and she bought me like this little necklace with my initials on it at the end of the show that was like 14 karat gold.
Wow.
And she was really, really sweet, and so I really enjoyed working with her.
Yeah, awesome. Okay.
So of all the countries you've been to, what's your favorite so far?
Actually, if you see Sarah's shirt here, Cambodia was actually one of my favorite countries. Absolutely. And I think the people there are just amazing. And I think that, meeting people when you go places and kind of seeing like how people are in different places is always kind of something that helps me fall in love with the place. And the people in Cambodia were just so amazingly nice for how little they have compared to like us Americans, and absolutely beautiful, and just like all this amazing nature. And Angkor Wat is just like, it's mind-blowing really when you think about like how they built all that stuff and the civilization that they had there for so many years, and then it just like was eaten by the jungle and rediscovered.
So when you were in Cambodia, did you only stay in Siem Reap, or did you go to other parts of the country?
Yeah, unfortunately I was there for a very short amount of time, so I was only in Siem Reap.
Okay.
But then we went out to Kulin Mountain Park, which has like this amazing waterfall. It's like a 3 or 4 hour drive in a 4x4 out there, which was really neat too. And then obviously did Angkor Wat, and then from there we flew down to Borneo. So it was a really short trip in Cambodia, but I'd love to go back.
That's awesome. Okay.
And you guys have been?
Yes, we were there last year. 1 year ago this year.
On my birthday.
Time. Yeah, we were there.
Yeah, it was my birthday when we went there.
And that's actually where I got the shirt. I actually bought this shirt.
I have a Cambodia shirt too. It's one of my favorite shirts.
I have Anchor Beer's t-shirt.
Oh yeah. Nice. You should have worn that today.
I could have worn my elephant pants.
I have one of those too.
Who doesn't have elephant pants from when they go to Cambodia?
She's like, yeah.
Actually, one of the funniest moments in Cambodia was me like totally drunk from too many Cambodian drinks, shopping for elephant pants.
Oh my gosh.
I have that on video somewhere. Maybe I'll have to share it.
It's easy to get drunk in Cambodia because because they cater to tourists, and the drinks are like the cheapest I've ever bought ever. It's like
so
50
cheap.
cents for a beer, $1.50 for a cocktail.
Yes, that one street, I can't remember.
Pub Street.
Pub Street, yes.
Yeah.
Just all these great, for all those of you who haven't gone, all these like amazing restaurants and bars, and then like street performers, and yeah.
Oh, don't forget the massages. Oh my god. Did you get a massage?
Did you do the fish?
Oh, we did that too, yeah. It was like
I didn't get a
$3.
massage, but
Well, oh my gosh, massage was so cheap. It was like a full body massage for $11.
wow.
For 90 minutes.
Was it 90 minutes? And it was like,
Yeah,
it was like 90 minutes. Like full body. Like it was $11 like so good. I mean, like these little Asian guys, but they're like, they really dug in. They were really good.
Yeah.
He
Well,
got
and then
one
our
of those,
hotel
too.
was like $40, and it had like a swimming pool, and I think you could get massages. It had free breakfast.
Nice.
Incredible.
So speaking of hotels, so when you travel, do you normally stay at hotels, or like what's your preference?
Well, I'm really into ecotourism, so I guess those of you that have seen any of my channels or websites, I actually have a website dedicated to like just all green hotels.
And
That's called travaganic.com.
Okay.
So it's kind of a mixture of traveling and organic. And so I try to stay mostly at like eco hotels. I do a lot of like more vacation home properties, stuff like that. I don't do like hostels or anything usually. But yeah, so hotels, I guess.
Okay.
Hotels, B&Bs. I love like more unique, small, boutique-y type places.
Okay, very cool.
So what's your favorite hotel you've been to?
So one of the coolest hotels I actually got to stay at this past year was when I was in Portugal. And I went all through like the Azores, Madeira Island, and then I did mainland Portugal. And when I was in Madeira Island, I got to stay at this glamping hut at this hotel there. And it was right on the ocean. So basically there's like this big hotel on the hillside overlooking the ocean. And you take an elevator down like 3 floors, which takes you to kind of like their swimming platform on the ocean. And they had this private little hut that was cordoned off on the side that had its own huge like concrete deck. And it was a private little like 1-bedroom bungalow. And off-grid, no electricity, just like curtains overlooking the ocean, and an open like bathroom that like you could just like, you'd be like taking a tinkle, looking at the ocean.
Oh wow.
It was incredible. So I had my own private swimming platform. They brought me like champagne and strawberries when I arrived, and then I had this like fabulous dinner at their overlooking the ocean restaurant. Listened to the ocean as I like fell asleep, and woke up to the sun rising with like breakfast served on my private like, you know, ocean view little deck.
That's awesome. And how did you find out about that place?
So when I went to Portugal, I actually just reached out to a bunch of eco hotels.
Okay.
And I told them, you know, what I do. And this particular one was like, oh, we have this fabulous glamping hut, you know. And I was like, okay, that sounds right up my alley. And so I actually didn't know about it beforehand. But it's actually one of like the best memories I'll ever have, I think, of being in a hotel.
Very cool.
That's cool.
Okay.
Do you have any places like on your bucket list that you've been meaning to get to and you really want to, but you haven't got a chance to?
So
she's like, where do I begin?
the number one place on my bucket list is Mount Roraima, which is on the border of Venezuela and Brazil and Uruguay, I believe. Kind of like shares all those borders, but it's like the largest tabletop plateau in the world. And it's actually what inspired like Land of the Lost and Journey to the Center of the Earth, like that whole kind of like crazy forest land. So basically it's this huge tabletop mountain. There's like waterfalls that just kind of like flow out of nowhere off the sides. It's like usually like a 10-day round trip trek, but it's like hiking, backpacking, camping. And that's been on my list for a really long time.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's amazing.
That's number one on my list, but I know there's like a lot of tensions with Venezuela right now. So it probably won't happen that soon. And then I really want to go to Africa, and really want to explore more of South America.
Okay. So as far as Africa, like what part? I mean, Africa is pretty, I mean, we know it's pretty big.
Yeah.
So like, is there some specific part of Africa that you want to?
Well, in March I'm supposed to be hiking Kilimanjaro.
Oh, nice.
And it's actually my first ever group trip.
Okay.
So, you know, if you guys want to come, you're invited. And any of you guys that want to come, you're invited as well. But that's in Tanzania.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll be doing like a safari afterwards.
Oh, wow.
But I really also, while I'm there, I want to go to Zanzibar. And then Mauritius, and there's Seychelles. I mean, there's so many places.
Wow.
Like, I want to go everywhere, so it's kind of hard to be like, this is next.
It's such a huge, you have such a huge contrast, because either like, oh, this luxurious, bring me champagne and strawberries. It goes to, not to go a 10-day walk up a mountain and hike. And
It's like, how do you
find your own fruit for your champagne in your tent?
Exactly. Then you can appreciate it when someone actually brings that to you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's so funny. Okay.
So when you travel, what about the food? Do you go for local food? Do you do street food or?
I do it all, and my boyfriend is always like horrified when we were in China, and I was like, oh my god, I want to try that street food, and he's like, oh my god, don't eat that, don't do it. And no, I mean, I'll eat anything.
So you're pretty adventurous when it comes to like eating, like.
Absolutely.
So we're like the same, and then I think Sarah and your boyfriend are the same.
Why not? I would try it.
Yeah. You was
Maybe.
Like, you just give me.
Depends on what it is.
You give him the look.
Yeah, I'm like, questionable, but.
I like almost anything.
He's like, well, enjoy that food poisoning.
Yeah, yes.
Have you ever gotten sick from?
Not in a long time. But one of my first trips to Europe, I got really bad food poisoning. I was 15.
Okay.
So, and I had like pork in Austria or something, and definitely got like, oof. It's not good. I was sick for days.
I think the more you do it, you kind of like build up an immunity. Just like locals, they're used to eating.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But I think as far as like, you know, restaurants and things like that go, I definitely always try to find like really like authentic local places. And I always go back to a trip to Portugal because the food there is incredible. Like the cuisine is so authentic and delicious and fresh. And unlike America where like everything is frozen or shipped from like some country here or there or whatever, like there everything was just like, you could tell that like they bought it from their neighbor's farm, or like they just caught the fish today, or you know. So like I love finding places like that where you like know that it's like a family run, like, you know, we found everything from like the earth around.
Mm-hmm. And what is the cuisine there in Portugal?
Well, it's a lot of like seafood, a lot of stuff with like, I guess like locally farmed things, like but like definitely fantastic seafood. The olives were like, I'm a huge like olive snob. I don't know if you guys share that, but the olives were incredible. Like I get like the medley of olives like everywhere I go, like at restaurants when they have it, and I've never had olives that tasted that good. The olive oil was amazing. The breads were amazing. Pastries. It's just, it was phenomenal cuisine.
Have you been to Spain before?
Yes.
So how is Portugal food in the area compared to Spain? Is it similar or?
I think Spain is a lot more meat focused. Like they're very focused on like hams and the aged like Serrano and like all those different kind of like ham stuff. Portugal has some of that, but I think Portugal is more like the seafood version of Spain, and Spain is more like focused on like the kind of like meats and things like that.
We're taking train through Spain. Which I did train while we were in Spain.
Mainly on the plane.
But yeah, I mean, like it's just like, as far as I could see, just olive trees.
Yeah.
Yes.
The rolling hills of olive trees are so pretty.
Yeah, Spain is great too.
So speaking of food, what has been like the strangest thing you've had?
The strangest thing. Ooh. Oh, I was thinking about this the other day. Now I have to remember it. Okay, so probably there's like two things on this list. In China, there's this like dried meat that's like kind of like beef jerky, but I don't think it's beef jerky. I'm actually not really sure what it is. My friend actually visited me when I was in Hong Kong a few years ago, and we were just like walking around Macau, like looking at all the street food, and they have these like just like big stalls of meat that look like sticks, like flat sticks. And I don't know what they were, but they were really delicious. And then when my boyfriend came back with me to that area, and I was like, oh, let's get the like weird dried beef things, and he was like, don't even look at that. It was really good. I have no idea what it was, or if it was beef, chicken, buffalo. I mean,
hopefully one of those.
Person, dog.
But it was good.
It was tasty.
It was good. Okay.
And then the other weird item, I guess, is I don't know if you guys are like sushi fans, but live octopus.
Yeah.
You have that? Yeah.
Yes.
And it like wriggles around in your mouth.
Yes.
So when they
before
take
you swallow it.
at a Korean sushi place in K-Town in LA, where they take a baby octopus and they cut the legs, they chop it up so it's like a whole plate of like writhing chopped up testicles.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
I see like the hardcore Korean guys do like a whole baby octopus, like a test of manhood, and they eat the whole thing, but not that. So you had like the chopped up.
Yeah, chopped up and sprinkling around. And I'm sure there's other things that I've eaten that have been really bizarre, but I'm kind of blanking on many of those things. Okay, wait, there's one more thing. and when I went to Wulong, which I talked about earlier, we had like turtle soup, and we had you know, which my boyfriend had like a pet turtle as a kid, or like that's like his favorite animal, and so I was like, don't look. I'm trying it. I feel like, you know, if somebody puts food in front of me, I don't want to be rude, so I'll just try it no matter what. So these days I eat more of like vegetarian.
Okay.
I still will eat pretty much anything.
Okay. So because you are a vegetarian, when you travel, are you like picky about like
No, I'm I guess pescatarian because I definitely eat fish, but I'm not that picky. If I'm in a country and I know that their culture is like a specific food, like I only eat more vegetarian just because of like I know that it's bad for the climate of the world. So if there's something that looks really delicious or someone gives me something that is like a hospitality type thing, I'm definitely not going to turn it down.